Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be answering that age-old question. If you got sent back in time to the year 1084, could you reunite a fractured and failing empire? Let's find out.
For 500 years, the Calradian Empire dominated.
500 years, the Calradian Empire. Okay, anyways, so let me give you guys the Cole's notes of what happened to Calradia, okay? The Empire sucked. Didn't have a great leader. Today, we're gonna be that leader. Now, you may ask yourself, what makes a great leader? Let me tell you. It's simple. Steve. Alright guys, so for this adventure, we're gonna start off by building up some gold, troops, renown, do some tournaments, kill some bandits. Need to, you know, put ourselves on the map a little bit. Because we ultimately need to get the Empire back together, bring it back to its former glory. But how are we gonna do that if we're just, you know, a lone Steve? You can't. Steve needs friends. We all do. With that said, we need to eventually join the Southern Empire. So, let's get started. Alright, well, we just talked to the Tournament Master in Dynastica. And we learned that there is some tournaments going on in 2 nearby settlements. Neither of which are actually very nearby. Not a very good business model they got going on here, but that's okay. We'll head up this way and see what we can find. Alright, well, this wasn't exactly what we wanted. We are just a lone Steve currently. But would we let bandits, petty looters in fact, bother us? Steal from us? No. You know, we had something these peasant looters could never dream of having. A mighty steed. There we go, gentlemen. Alright, so you already know right away we gotta get right into the tournament. Gotta choose a prize here, hold on. Oh, this is just cash. Dude, call me Chris Kyle the way I don't miss. Is that politically correct? I don't know. What's his name? Psoriasis. Sounds like psoriasis, goddamn. Alright, there we go. You know, honestly, watching your own friend just... You know, honestly, this is an honor 1v1. Let's see how it goes. If my teammate loses, I have to die too. It's about, like, honor and respect at this point. Oh, did not mean to hit that. There's no way a cataphract loses to a veteran. Guys. I know what I said, but at a certain point in time, you got to avenge the boys, you know? And you can't just let Imperial veteran infantrymen really just go down, you know? We keep going. Whew. Already, money earned, helmet gained. And now in classic early game Bannerlord fashion, we gotta loop around to another tournament. Catch you there. Alrighty, got to Acolyte. Gonna pop in the next tournament. Gotta select a prize again. Could go with some actual armor, you know. Woo! Hey, yo. I swear, some of these fights can be so anticlimactic. Yo. Call me John Wick. Alrighty, that's cash in the bank. Alrighty, so with some of the winnings, we're also gonna grab some horses, a little more food, probably a few more troops, and then head to the next tournament. Alrighty, now we gotta run all the way to Zionica, so, you like Darude Sandstorm or something? I don't know. Does anyone even know that? So, real talk, I feel like sometimes I'm so old now that, like, I make references, and I wonder if other people are gonna get it, you know what I mean? Ooh, I got my caveman brain going. Yeah. So what we got going on here, Cataphract Lance. What I was thinking about is this is couchable, so pretty great, pretty nice, especially for early game, I like to think. Can someone grab this spear out of my arm, please? Yo! Okay. Gonna be honest here, Mr. Imperial Manivilian. He is not helping right now. There we go. Yo, wait, let me just. This spear in my arm kind of hurts. You know, honestly, if you're Imperial Bukalari, like I'm f***ing John Wick here, and you see Steve, really, what can you even hope to do? This is the point where he should be hitting this button right here. All right, there we go. Oh, wait, you know what we can do? Real quick. I don't care, Brigand. Something quite like a good charge with your boys. It's a beautiful night sky in the air. You're traveling with your boys to the next town when you happen upon a bunch of looters. Look at that guy's face. We don't take prisoners here. Alrighty, fellas. Rolling up to the tournament here. Let's see what we got. Get ourselves something nice. Okay, this is awful. I lied. Let's get ourselves something nice. Max bet, because I'm a gambler. Yeah, doink. Yeah, dead. And once again, still a gambler. I feel like running through these tournaments early game is just like the easiest way to build up like money renown. Especially if you you play modded. Alrighty, another tournament out of the way. Money made. All in the good name of the Empire. Gotta grab some renown. Just gonna, you know, do our part. Clean up the neighborhood. Okay, also, what is going through this guy's head wrap here? He's got like nails smacked into his head. Not a very brave fellow. Oh, one of our boys is in trouble. Oh, never mind, he's good. Just a glorious beatdown. You guys already know the drill. Steve does not fuck with the looters. Something about his scooter back when he was a kid. It was a whole situation. Ooh, my favorite part of the fight where the looters run and you just beat them mercilessly with your spear. Yo, it's the same guy. Yo. Okay. Well, guys, Steve had aspirations of joining the Empire early on in his career as a warlord. But unfortunately, you know, Empire's busy beating up some foreigners. You know, that's probably not a good word to use here, huh? Anyways, let's kill some looters. Steve's got to hang out with the boys real quick. Can't party without the boys, you know what I'm saying? Wait, where is he? There he is, our champion. Finally not covered in blood for once. Don't know if Steve could say the same, I'm gonna be honest. That's okay though. It happens. Suddenly the looter scum is not so great. Yo, wait, call me John Wick again, what? How many times can we say John Wick in one video? At least a few. There we go. Problems solved. Steve's waiting on his good friends for the Southern Empire to take him in, you know, really cherish him as part of the family, bring him into the fold, you know. We gotta dump off some of this junk from the looters, you know. Honestly, low tier rags, not something Steve wants to associate with. He's a man of class and culture, so, you know, only the best. Alrighty, cue waiting montage. Patience may be a virtue, but that is something of which Steve lacks. And myself. Now, fellas. From the year, pause? Unpause. In the year 1084 all the way to the current year of 2025, there is one thing you need to know about talking with the ladies. They like a man who's direct, honest, handsome, rich, strong. All things Steve is. Is. You know what I'm going for, gentlemen. You gotta be direct. Alright, let's see here. We've run into a problem, gentlemen. Empress Regea thinks we're useless. We'll be back. All right, well, Steve, with his newfound knowledge that he is currently useless to the Empire and our reunification process, he's decided to go fight in a tournament, blow off some steam, maybe find God. You know, I was about to say this whole speech about how you should be an honorable, you know, fella, give him a 1v1. Steve is a man of honor, after all. But when the tournament prize is a Dawnbreaker and, you know, there's money on the line, what can you really do? Yeah, he'll roll that one off. He's okay. All right, money made, new sword earned. Gotta get a little more renown before we can join the Empire. So far in Steve's odyssey here, he's had a lot of tough battles. He started off getting jumped by a group of looters. Thanks to his trusty steed, you know, it all turned out okay. Now Steve has met his hardest match yet. 5 looters. With that said, I'm just gonna... All right. A close battle indeed. Steve just arrived in Vostrom, and as he was about to go to the tournament to get his clan renown up and become a viable member, actually not even a member, just a mercenary for the Southern Empire, we came across a glorious find. A 2-handed cleaver. Now, we just got the Dawnbreaker, but you have to remember one thing. What is better than a 1-handed sword? A really big sword. Now imagine this. A hero comes and saves a fair maiden, slays the villain, brings down tyranny. Now picture him. Big, strong, muscular. Maybe a flowing mane in the wind. What does he have at his side, though? A big sword. Thank you very much. Alright, is it just me or did his pants just disappear for a second? As we can see here, Ragnvad from Sturgia, wanting to pay the good man Steve and his troops to be mercenaries. Well, Ragnvad of Sturgia, in another lifetime maybe, but Steve has one mission: reunite the Empire. Anyways, back to what we're doing here. Quick little tournament here before we go pledge to the Southern Empire. Clothesline by our boy Joran. Sure would be a shame if Joran just coincidentally caught an arrow. Alright, let's just... you. Steve's mortal enemy, Ira. An independent woman, a strong woman. A now dead woman. Knocked out, not dead. Alrighty, with Steve now in a good place to pledge to the Southern Empire, we have officially gotten to Clan Tier 1, so while we actually can't pledge quite yet, we can join up as a mercenary. And joining up as a mercenary, that's an honorable role, you know, you're really reaching, that's community outreach. That's doing more for the people, that's getting rid of looters, bandits. You're all but there in name, you know what I'm saying? And Steve is a man that understands there is steps to every ladder. These guys looking kind of shifty back here. Why are they covering up like that? All right, guys. Found the Empress. We're no longer a peasant. It's time to join up with the Empire. First, we're peasants, so we can't join. Now that we found her again, they're not at war. I'm about to go to war. All right, title change. Taking down the Empire. All right, new plan, gentlemen, new plan. We keep grinding, we get to tier 2, we join the Empire, then we start declaring war from within. All right, corporate espionage, a la 1084. All right, let's get to it. Okay, new plan. Gyarios, you know, we don't really back this guy, we're not his friend, but if we join him for a little bit, do a little merc work, get some money, I think we're in there. We're merking for the Western Empire for a little bit. There's a little bit of a, you know, hiccup to the plan. I didn't check who they weren't exactly friends with. And if you open your eyes, you'll notice the people we want to support are now our enemy. But that's okay. We can always turn this around.
Want to tell me who you are? Or
I was in the middle of saying something there, Mr. Hafatalamos. If that even is your real name. This guy sound like the fucking Holy Nation from Kenshi. Only one thing to do here. You know, I respect that he stayed to fight. I don't think it was a wise decision, but I respect it. A lot of upgrades incoming. We took down some bad guys, and more notably, we got some renown. The Empire is going to recognize us someday, and that day is coming quickly. All right, so our hero Steve is in Zionica, selling off some ill-gotten... Is it really ill-gotten, actually? Selling off his hard-earned loot from his fight with some tribe of cultists, it seems. You know, we were about to leave when a tournament was heard in the distance. And you know Steve, he's a man of honor. All right, so after that little tournament, we're currently sitting at 71 renown, and we need to get up to 150 before we'll finally be recognized or run into our third hurdle of another reason why we're a peasant and we're not useful. So we're gonna have to wait and see, but I think Steve has a real shot here coming up. All right, so it seems Joculos of the Hand is not very... What the f is his mustache? Kind of looks like two serpents curling up around his lips. I mean, that's just a crime in and of itself, so we're gonna have to kill him for that. Execution, probably. So we know their party leader is gonna be on a horse. Steve is gonna hunt him down. Alrighty, a little bit of a rough start. We probably, you know, Steve did lose a good amount of men here, but, you know, you can't win a battle without losing some bread. Yeah, you can't win a battle without losing some bread. Let's go with that. So after Steve's explosive victory against the Southern Empire's contracted mercenaries, you know, a little merc v merc battle, he saw a battle going on at Annika Castle, a besiegement actually, went to go check it out. Unfortunately, it is someone we would never want to have to battle. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you see it, this isn't our problem. The Southern Empire, take all the land you want. That's who we're really going to be with at the end of the day. We're basically a spy, just with a little bit of murder, but it's for a good cause. The benevolent, merciful, and kind Steve has decided that his prisoners no longer needed. Just kind of came to the revelation that now that the Southern and Western Empire are at war, we can just abandon the Western Empire and join the Southern Empire. That was definitely Steve's thinking and not mine. We left the Western Empire. We're not merking for them. We're kind of important. We're not quite there yet, but we are good enough. Surely. About time. Thank you very much. We're now officially merking for the Southern Empire. We're on the way up. We're against the Western Empire right now, which honestly just works well for us. One of our castles is actually being sieged right now, so we're gonna head up there and see what we can't do. All right, so Steve, with some newfound friends from the Southern Empire, ran into Cassanon from Dionysos, House of Dionysos. I don't like his smile, honestly. He's looking a little too smug, a little too happy. He has a cleft in his chin. Perfect place to put a sword. I think he has to die. All right, we'll take that. You know, we're at a crossroads here. Cassanon, his smirk is gone. He's no longer being a schmarmy fuck. I think that's enough to let him go. Steve is a benevolent man after all. Oh, look at that smile. I knew it was coming back. All right, we'll hunt him down. Alrighty, after a quick skirmish there with some members of the Hand, we got a little banner here to throw on. Rep our Southern Empire pride here in the back. Also, with some leveling that we got, we also have this perk now where we get XP when we dump clothing. So it's actually pretty worthwhile now to get rid of this. Alright guys, we have run into a little bit of a problem here. We got to the castle, but I'm no mathematician, but this number plus this number equals big number. This number plus this number, not big number. A little bit of a problem. Now, the alternative plan we got here is waiting for Regea's main army to get here. The problem with that is the castle may be gone by then. Let's see. 130 troops actively being attacked. Most likely doesn't make it. We have one option here, and it's not looking good. But that's to head in and defend it ourselves. I think we have to do it. I don't think there's another option. All right, we are in a bit of a predicament here. Steve is not a man of many talents. And that means he lacks the ability to shoot a bow. On the bright side, he does have a fork. Oh, geez, you can't put that on your back. All right, Steve. Not doing that hot. You know what we can do, though? Little stone pile. Steve is in quite a precarious situation. Oh, God. Steve! Climb! Climb, Steve! Oh, no. Surely you wouldn't do this to me. Not to Steve! Please! Okay, it's all good. It's all good. We're okay. Okay, this is where we really gotta lock in here with these stone piles. Okay, they're flaming pot stone piles. Steve is doing what he has to for the Empire. This is all in the name of the Southern Empire. Troops are holding off that side well. Oh my God. Steve really is a special guy. When these guys get closer, we're gonna do a little bit of a... Steve is so strong and handsome. What can I say? We got a lot of reach here with the polearm, but it is still concerning how few troops we have left, and I don't know how the other side of the castle is holding up versus the push. Oh, they need help at the main gate. Oh, they're retreating. We gotta root them out of here. They're just running. Oh, wait, hold up, hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa! Now, little known fact about Steve, he's actually a really friendly guy. So when... Oh, thank God Steve didn't skip cardio. My only curiosity is where my friends are. It's gonna lead him back up here. We're just in the meat grinder now. You know, this is kind of what happened when the London... You know that song, The London Bridge is Falling Down? Little fourth wall break there, but it's actually almost exactly identical to that. Oh, see, now they're trying to run again. And see, look, Steve's doing community outreach. Look at them. They're all frowning. Look at this frown. Smile. Frown. Smile. Look at that. This is community outreach done right. Steve caught Milos' party outside Thorios Castle. Our friends in the Empire, Southern Empire, of course, are sieging the castle. All in the good name. But unfortunately, Milos' party was snooping around, doing a little too much. And, you know, now he's got to be put down. Now, as much fun as it would be to execute Milos, we can't have, you know, all the other members of the Empire hate us. You know, we got to slowly bring them back into the fold, show them the Southern Empire way is the right way, you know, got to teach them. So for now, we got to let them go. All right, you know, I was going to talk about how Steve's honorable and all that, but I think this guy might actually have to be executed. Tell me your name. I always prefer to know whom I slay. This guy, you know what? We're not going to say anything mean. We're not going to take any low blows. We're just going to do what we came here to do. Now, I would just like to recall, you know, back to not too long ago where Mr. Archon Disporian was being a little too high and mighty. But you know what? Steve always takes the high road. He's a generous guy. And maybe one day Mr. Archon Disporian will work for us. Or we'll decapitate him. Time will tell. Alright, so right next to Amatotize. Amatotize? He's probably not that one. We do happen upon 2 more enemy parties, and Steve is a man, a proud man of the Southern Empire, so he's got to continue on. This fight right off the bat actually is looking a lot less in our favor, but knowing our hero, he wouldn't let us down. Another glorious victory for the Southern Empire once again, and in classic Steve fashion. You're free to go. You as well. They'll be ours later. In like a member of the Southern Empire taking over all the empire. Just to be very clear, slavery's wrong, kids. Personally, you know, I'm a fan that they have multiple persuasions in their empire. That's very inclusive. That's good. I like it. Everyone's equal in the eyes of the empire, unless you're not part of the empire. But everyone else, yeah. Oh, good, good. Some while later, Steve found himself outside Thorio's castle, joining some newfound friends from the Southern Empire. They're here to siege. Always a tragedy when the Imperial recruits spawn in. Cut through them like butter. A true warrior doesn't flee. All right. Castle conquered. After helping the party from the Southern Empire take Thorio's castle, gotta continue on, taking out the Western Empire. All right, well, Steve needs to be a vassal, and he needs some deep roots into the Southern Empire if he's really gonna, you know, lock in for them. So I think we gotta do something here real quick. My lady, please give me more time to think about this. Oh, wait, we get free troops. I mean, it would be wrong to not take a gift from your new empress, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. And now that Steve is a vassal of the Southern Empire, there's one more thing he needs. What does every good man want right next to them? Besides a cold beer, they need a woman. Or a man. You know, it's 2025. Be who you want to be. But for Steve, it's a good lady in the year 1084. Okay, wait, that's crazy. That's kind of a steal. Because if you think about it, Ira is the, like, the heir to the Empire once she comes of age to be, the ruler, the Empress. Once the Empire's reunited, of course. 87k, that's all they want. That's kind of crazy. All right, well, you know what? Deal. And on the 8th day of winter, 1084, Steve married Ira. Yo, Steve's kind of... Wait, Ira's jacked. Yo, wait, look at Ira posing up like that. Why are they all close? They're all clapping their hands with their knuckles closed. You know, it was a beautiful ceremony. I personally visited. Great champagne, beautiful decor. The toiletries were lacking, but no, I digress. It was a good time. All right, guys, now that Steve has a wife, there's one more thing he needs. Every guy, you know, they have their boys. Their friends, their homies, their bros, whatever you want to call them. Steve? Kind of lacking, so we're gonna get to work on that. All right, guys, so Steve walks into a bar and meets another guy named Steve. They stare at each other for a second, then both say, "This round's on Steve." Anyways, Steve Publius, the crafter, our first new friend. All right, guys, not far over, we are still in Britannia, up in the mountains, and we have found another friend, Golden, K-pop Demon Hunters reference. Let's go. Okay, so while Steve was on his journey gathering his friends here from all corners of the globe because he's an inclusive fella, we noticed some grand news from the Southern Empire. We got ourselves our very first settlement. Quite glorious. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name, but Steve sure could. We've already set up the projects in here to get this going, put in 50k into the reserve to boost it so we can get some progress on these numbers, because after a long siege, no settlement is very happy. So we're going to see how we can get this turning around. All right, guys, we're now up in the north in Sturgia. We're in the settlement of Ballgard, and we have met another friend, Edwin Cowthief. Suspicious name. Hopefully he's not doing anything illegal, but I think he's going to be one of our new friends. Now, when you say the word friend, what does that mean to you? Someone you can count on. Someone that's there for you. Someone to smile with, to laugh with. Through the ups and the downs, someone like Cole Fairhair will be there for you. Look at his fair hair. All right, anyways, yeah, another friend made. We're also just gonna cover up that hair. There we go. Steve finding himself down in the south of Asarai. Yesha the She-Wolf. Quite the fierce name, quite the fierce face. Another friend obtained. Steve, finding himself in the Northern Empire, runs into a man in a tavern known as Yuha the Hyena. Where he comes from does not matter. All that matters, look at this glorious mustache. Look at this guy, that's growing far and wide.
Anyway, what do you want?
All right, well, that's a friend made. Well, isn't this some glorious news? Steve's wife, Ira, the heir to the Empire, has given birth to a healthy baby. On the 7th day of summer, 1085, a child was born to Ira. A strong one to be, a new member of the family. Steve, having found himself in the Northern Empire, in the settlement of Diathma, we have found a new friend for Steve, Wasur the Swordsman, a brave man, a kind man, the kind of man Steve wants in his brotherhood. Steve, upon stumbling into a tavern in Jalmaris, finds Marina Longknife, a longtime friend, soon to be. Alright guys, it's been 2 seasons, and we're now in the year of 1085, but we have finally finished gathering Steve's friends. We have Steve Publius the Crafter, Hasid the Golden, Melchia the Exile, Lorgand Bitterdraught, Edwin Cowthief, Cole Fairhair, Yesha the She-Wolf, Yuha the Hyena, Wasur the Swordsman, and Marina Longknife. What a fine bunch of friends he has found. And in that time, Ira had a child, Mitch, and she's also pregnant with another. So the family and the friends are growing wildly fast in a single time span of about 2 seasons. Now, in some glorious, shocking news for Steve, he has been birthed with twins. Boron and Rugged. Oh, Born and Rugged, what beautiful names. Well, well, well. Will you look here? Monchug, not feeling too confident anymore in this war that he started, is now offering tribute for peace. That guy's a coward. Anyways, we'll take it. Whew, alright, we lost a few troops, but all in the good name of the Southern Empire, we do have to defend our land. Whoops. And so they flee. So it would appear that Steve has arrived to this siege a little late. Jalmaris is currently being sieged by many members of the Southern Empire. If you notice at the top of the screen here, you don't have to be a mathematician to know that this number is a lot bigger than this number. We're just gonna do this quickly. Who could have ever seen this coming? Alright guys, to a not so shocking surprise, Jalmaris has actually been given to Steve by the Southern Empire. Everyone voted for Steve, because Steve is just the bee's knees apparently. We're gonna do this real quick. So, in a continued sweeping attack on the Western Empire, expanding our reach, we are now sieging Rote with Regea, just continuing from Jalmaris. Maybe we're gonna get ourselves another settlement here. We're just gonna have to find out, wait and see. Oh god. And in standard Steve fashion, we have now policed the Empress once again. Alrighty, so after the siege of Rote, there was a little vote that happened in the Southern Empire, and to more shocking surprise, our hero Steve once again won the settlement. In some rather sad news, Steve has found out that his good friend Edwin Cowthief is now a prisoner of Tadios. We can't let that stand. It's time to hunt this guy down. Traveling through the lands, we last heard that our good friend was seen near Jalmaris before he was taken prisoner. So we're gonna head that way and find him. In some rather sad news, Steve has caught Tadios and some of his boys outside of Zionica. We've only been able to surmise one thing from this very unfortunate situation. Our good friend, Edwin, is stuck inside Zionica's prisons. We know what we must do. We're gonna find Tadios. We're gonna kill this. That guy. They say every hero has a tragic backstory, and as does every villain. Steve's is watching a friend be imprisoned in Zionica. And while Steve used to let all brave warrior enemies go, he's recently had a change of heart, and he thinks he needs to take prisoners now. Already up to Daisy. You know, it really makes you wonder what Steve was eating to be able to make these kind of jumps off castle walls and be okay. These are the burning questions we need the answers to. And to a shocking surprise, Zionica is falling. All right, with our good friend Edwin, Cow Thief free now. He's currently staying at Rote. We're gonna go meet up with him. We're gonna get him some troops and get him back out on the field. All right, before we head out to go meet up with our friend though, fortunately, Zionica was given to Steve. Not very shocking. He's a prominent and upcoming member of the Southern Empire. All right, Edwin is stocked back up on troops. He's ready to get out there. Our other parties are currently in Regea's army. We actually have the Western Empire on the ropes. Quite literally right now, they are down to 2 castles and 2 towns, so I think we're going to push for their extinction right now. Some things have become complicated. The Kuzites have redeclared war on the Southern Empire. I guess they got tired of paying tribute. And on top of that, our lovely settlement of Jalmaris is now being sieged by some little rat from the Western Empire. So, after we're done taking Ortesia, we're going to turn around, hike it back over, and squash out the besiegers. You know, if Steve was around in the modern day, I feel like he would be the go-to actor for action films. Like, Tom Cruise, for example, does all of his own stunts. See, I feel like that'd be the kind of energy Steve would have if we saw like a modern era Steve. In another lifetime, Steve would have been a CS bro. Oh. Okay. Steve is once again a hero, and he gets another settlement. Ortesia is his. In a turn of fortunate news during a campaign in the east, because of some Southern Empire members wanting to war with the Kuzites, a little bit of a disagreement of sorts. Luckily, Gyarios of the Western Empire has decided he wants to tussle again. Now, if we need a reminder of what this is looking like, not too hot for Gyarios. His people are upset. They're on the broke side. They're not doing well. But we are in the perfect position now to pivot back to the west and once and for all stomp out the Western Empire and force them into the fold. Steve, having made it back westbound towards the Western Empire, sees a group of hooligans, absolute scoundrels, approaching one of his settlements. And Steve, being the honorable man he is, doesn't even want the settlement to be besieged. He wants to get right in there and solve the problem. And to no surprise, Steve has routed the evildoers once again. Glory to the Empire. Alrighty, so the Western Empire here, their last settlement, only having this settlement and I believe 3 castles left actually. We noticed Steve was passing by and heard the clacking of pans being smacked against ladles. He noticed they have no food, and he realized there's 4 parties in here, so clearly what he knows must have happened is they ate all the food and the garrison starved. Tragic. So, Steve, being an honorable man, has decided to siege the city and save them from their oppressors. It would seem we've come into a bit of a conundrum here. Steve, his last foe, is actually hiding inside the castle walls, or the walls of the city, rather. Little bit of a conundrum, but we're gonna figure it out. In the current day and age, this would be known as an architecture failure. They forgot to put in the stairs. Don't worry, we're gonna figure it out. All right, there we go. Steve is a little bit of a mathematician, a scientist, a mathemagician, if you will. Whew. What a good day to be Steve. It's okay, we don't care about Melkia escaping from a captivity. More importantly, the Western Empire settlements are actually all now Steve's. If you look here, we have boom, 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 boom. All 6 of those Steve's. He's an important guy. Just gonna run in here real quick, manage the town, give it some reserves to get it going right. We need to get them on the right track here. Under Gyarios's command, it was not going well. Okay, well, we have some interesting developments. We're currently sieging one of the last 2 castles of the Western Empire. Meanwhile, our wife has given birth. Oh. Well, I did not finish reading that message. My bad. Alright guys, this is about to be a historical moment. We're about to siege the final castle of the Western Empire. Steve is very pleased to announce on the 7th day of summer, 1087, 3 years into this journey, the Western Empire is no more. Okay guys, so it's been a little bit since Steve has last checked in with us. There was a little bit of a campaign going on in the east against the Kuzites again. Not a very friendly bunch of people, but it all worked out in the end. Turns out, Steve, through some very legitimate means, not gaming the system at all, just so happens to, have a little more influence than others. And, through many proposed attempts, finally, he convinced his friends to make nice with the East. While stopping in a bar in Akalot, Steve runs into a new friend, Gon the Grey Falcon. A strong man, a brave man. Alright, we're just gonna, welcome to the club, buddy. Upon stumbling into the local tavern in Phycaean, our hero Steve meets Lutros the Silent. Needing more friends because one can never have enough, they gather and talk about stuff that you talked about in the year 1087. They really just grow up so fat. What the fuck is this kid's haircut? God damn. Well, they made barbers for a reason. Our hero Steve finds himself the owner of, once again, another settlement. This one, the first taken from the north, the first of many. Jeez. Alright guys, as we can see here, the north, being the cowards they are trying to pay us off to continue on living. We can't let this happen. We've spent way too long waiting for this perfect moment to take down Lucan and his boys, and the time has come. The Empire will be reborn, reforged, and brought back together. By the way, we totally didn't just drain all of everyone else's influence by throwing up votes that don't matter and abstaining from them to avoid a penalty. What wonderful news! Our wife Ira has given birth to a healthy baby. Now we can only hope it has a normal hairstyle and a readable name. Good enough! In some fantastic news, Diathma, a former Northern Empire settlement, is now Steve's. Quick little tune-up to the situation here because the projects were just dire, but Steve's gonna get it done. Now there is something you don't see every day. Steve has been a little sidetracked. Sturgia, the Kuzites, they're getting a little angry at how great Steve and his friends are doing. A little jealous. That's okay, they're gonna get past it. But something you don't normally see here, Britannia off to the west between Vlandia and the Western Empire, normally at the start. They're doing something really fancy over here in the Kuzites, land. And I'm all for it. Britannia, they normally don't do too well, so I'm happy for them. Steve and his friends find themselves outside of Epicratia, have decided that the Northern Empire must fall even further. And one of their last settlements that are standing, Steve and his friends know what they must do. You know, at a certain point, you would think after barreling through the first, 10, 20, 30 people, and you see this guy come at you, this beast of a man known as Steve, you would just drop your weapons, swear fealty, ask to be taken prisoner. Anything besides be a punching bag or a pincushion, really, for his sword. You would think anything else, but maybe these other sections of the Empire have been filled with masochists, and it explains so much. Steve and his band of hooligans, aka his friends, find themselves having been the new owners of Epicradia, so loaded up the reserve, got the projects going, and they are now moving on to what would be the last remnants, actually, of the Northern Empire. 2 towns and 6 castles. There's a little bit of a prisoner situation with the Northern Empire right now, but we're not worried about that. The Northern Empire is currently holding out in the last corners of their realms. These 3 castles right here, and 2 settlements off in the east, Argeron and Amprella. So, Steve, knowing what he must do, he has some friends in the area. They're going to take out these last 3 castles and then head to their settlements and reunite the Empire. Right, Steve's gonna push up here and make sure all of these siege engines are not in use. These are actually quite a problem for Steve's friends here out in the field. Can't let the current Empress be murdered. And now that we've taken this area, we have a great advantage of being able to do some really magical things. High level tech right here. Ignore everybody. Get a little toss in there. Tough day for the Northern Empire. Okay. Steve's wife having yet another baby. Quite a healthy relationship these two have. Giving birth to a healthy baby. Now, the only thing we can really hope for here is, once again, as you all know, a readable name. I mean, you can definitely read this, but good enough. We'll accept it. Steve was laying siege to Flintholg Castle when a good friend of his, Oros, and his companions Sanyan and Faron, carrying their own parties with them, decided that they would do a better job leading the charge, commanding the siege, and having 0 siege engines of any sort built before deciding to attack. But Steve never abandons a friend. First things first, we need to get this siege engine stopped. Not a good thing going on for his friends right here. Alright, siege engine down. Steve's friends are safe and sound. Now we can start taking these fire pots and throwing them at the enemies like that. Wait, hold on. There we go. Steve's friends really seem to have this one under control. We're just gonna kind of roam for a moment here. We have a fire pot in our hands. This is very dangerous. We gotta be safe and sound out here. Even though it's, 900 years ago, OSHA would still have something to say if we weren't careful. Let's box this guy to death, shall we? Ow. This guy's a coward. Alright. Handled. It's a healthy amount of friends holding the line right there. Steve's friends out in the east, Tynops' army is actually currently sieging one of the remaining 2 settlements of the Northern Empire, so looks like Steve is going to help our good friend over here, Oros, take down Cranarog Castle, and then it's going to be a little meet-up in the middle situation here to once and for all in the Northern Empire, and at that point in time, we can say that the Empire has been reunited. You know, there comes a time in every medieval ruler's life when he needs to choose if he's a man or a pansy. And shown by our good friend Oros at our last siege, you don't need siege engines. You just need sheer determination and will to get inside those walls. We're gonna do it again. Steve may have chosen one of the least tactically wise decisions of his lifetime. In some games, RimWorld, Kenshi, many others, this is what you would call a kill box. And that's not a good time. And as the name may imply, it does a lot of killing in that zone. We'll make it work. Oh my god. What a clutch shot by our hero Steve. It's over for them. The second we got on these walls, it was decided. Gonna really quickly push through, make sure we disable any chance of them trying to use this kill box. Many of our friends decided not to just scale the walls, but it would appear that we've all but ignored their kill box. Oh boy. Just a bunch of cannon fodder, really. Deserters. Shameful. Those cheeky birds in the north took Dinar Castle, which originally belonged to the Kuzites, trying to stop the end. It's inevitable. I'm not sure who these silly geese in the north, Lucan and his boys, think they are, but these proposed plans of peace, they just simply can't happen. I don't know if he's taken a moment to look at the situation, what's going on, but it's not happening. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get the last castle of the north. Now, the real beauty of how short these walls are, we're already up in their business before they realize it. It's too late. Buy our boys some time to get up here, and it is all but over already. Bunch of cowards. Fleeing, their empire's falling. Fortunately for them, they have a glorious, glorious change in host. And there goes the last Northern Empire's castle. What a tragic end to meet. Defending your own castle and getting stuck in between two doors with no escape. Jeez. It's a lot of friends hanging out in one town. This is what it's all been for. The last remaining Empire town that isn't under our banner. We're standing at the precipice of everything we've worked for from many years ago when we started this journey. Steve is about to finish it right here. Now, Steve is at a crossroads for how to handle this final siege to reunite the Empire. There's so many paths in front of him on how to do this. Might need to talk to his spiritual advisor. All right, Steve, spiritual advisor. What are we thinking? It all but makes sense. Steve's wise, beyond many years spiritual advisor told him no siege engines, no. You gotta do this the manly way. Here we go. Really weaved the arrow right between both of them there. That was impressive. All right. Gotta keep the ladder up. We're almost there. Can't let anybody stop us. Now using their own fire pots against them. Personal space. Learn about it. That is definitely one way to handle the situation. The guy's just not awake. Hey, are my eyes deceiving me? Must be one of our sleeper cell agents. Opening the gates for our men. Oh, buddy got killed anyways. Alright, we're not gonna box him out. It's kind of like Roshaw. They think I'm stuck in there with them, but it's really they're stuck in there with me. A single soldier left on the walls. It would appear I didn't have time to get to him. The remaining troops have retreated to the keep. Really tough day for the people trying to hold this keep. Ugh. That's tough. Just getting manhandled down the corridor. And that's all they had. And it was then, in 1089, the Northern Empire is gone. And now, Steve, looking back on this rather long, grand adventure, the Southern Empire has finally taken all of the land from the west and the north, reuniting the empire. The only question left for Steve, his people, his allies, his friends, his family. What left of Calradia can't they take? Will Steve and his friends be able to do it? We'll have to find out. I just want to say a big thank you to any of you that make it this far in the video. I spent a lot of time recording, editing, being silly and saying silly words. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. And I hope all of you that have made it this far also enjoyed it. And if you really liked it, throw down a like, subscribe, and until next time. Oh, and of course, if you guys want to see the rest of Steve's adventure with his friends, taking over the rest of Calradia, the north, the south, the east, and the west, there's a lot of land the Empire still has to get. So, if you guys are interested in seeing that, let me know. See you later, Space Cowboy.